Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining. Sorry, hold on. There we go. Thank you for joining us. Excuse me. Tonight's class is in the merit of all the Jewish people, especially those in the land of Israel, those who need healing, rescuing, success. God should give them everything that they need. If you'd like to sponsor a class, please let us know. We appreciate the sponsorships we get. It helps us keep doing these classes. You can send us a message, and we will arrange that. Okay, this week's Torah portion is actually a double Torah portion, Achrimos Kedoshim, and we're going to be discussing the second Torah portion, specifically the Torah portion of Kedoshim. In Leviticus chapter 19, verse 16, as follows: You shall not go around gossiping in amongst your people. You shall not stand by the blood of your fellow. Ani Hashem, I am God. Okay, that's the verse. So Rashi right away comments as follows. He says, comments on the words, you shall not stand by your fellow's blood. And he says, what does that mean? He says, do not watch him die while you could have saved him. For example, he is drowning in a river and being attacked by wild animals or bandits. Okay, so Rashi explains that if you see someone drowning and they're being attacked, you should save him. Okay, pretty simple stuff. So the Rabbi asks a very interesting question about Rashi's explanation of this verse. And he's asked two very simple questions. The first question is, why does Rashi have to explain what it means, do not stand by your fellow's blood? Or the blood of your fellow, however you want to say it. And seemingly it's very obvious. It means don't watch your brother die. Don't let your fellow person just be killed. Seems what does Rashi have to explain? What it means? This person is drowning and he's being attacked by bandits. Very bizarre explanation for a pretty straightforward verse. That's the second one. And the question is, why does Rashi have to give this specific explanation? So in other words, first of all, why does Rashi have to say anything? And why does he have to give this bizarre case of somebody drowning and he's being attacked by wild animals or bandits? There's a lot of examples you could give. You could think of somebody who is in a bad situation and needs saving. Why does Rashi bring this specific case? Now, the first question we can answer is a pretty simple answer. That there must be something special that is being taught here in this pasuk, in this verse, about do not stand by your brother's blood. Why? Because in this week's Parsha, we have other commandments. There are actually 51. Check the number. Yeah, 51 commandments in this week's Torah portion. It's a lot of commandments. And one of them is, for example, v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You should love your fellow as yourself. So we know already that you have to, if you're going to love your fellow as yourself, seemingly part of that will be rescuing him if he needs rescuing. Seems pretty obvious. We have other verses in the Torah. Abraham is commanded that to perform righteousness and justice. You would think that would go, part of righteousness and justice would be, don't let people die. We know you're supposed to lend money to people. We've already learned. We have a verse in the Torah that says you shall surely help your fellow. And again, like we said, in this week's Torah portion, not long, I believe it's a little bit before, that we have this pasuk, this verse of v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, you shall love your fellow as yourself. So obviously Rashi had to say something. He has to explain what is specifically this verse teaching me that no other verse is teaching me. And therefore, Rashi explains that actually this verse is talking about a situation where somebody is putting his own life at risk. So, for example, there's if a person is going to put his own life at risk, maybe you could say that why is he obligated to put his own life at risk? Even though, yes, the person is dying, this person's in a bad situation, needs saving, needs rescuing, why should I risk my life? And therefore, Rashi has to explain this specific case. This case is the case where somebody is drowning and being attacked by wild animals or robbers. Why? Because if a person, everybody knows, even somebody who is a 5-year-old student, Rashi's commentary is written even for the 5-year-old child who's just starting to learn Chumash. So a 5-year-old child understands people live near water. People need water. Water is important. Use it for bathing. Use it for going to the mikvah. You might use it for a situation where you need water, you need a drink. You might use it for shipping. Whatever you need, your people live near, generally near waterways. And he understands that somebody might be in a situation where they're drowning. So they say, okay, you're not supposed to, you can't, you're in a situation, someone's drowning, so you go and you save them. Okay, but is there really a risk in saving somebody from drowning? Not necessarily. You can do things like throw a rope, right? Throw out a stick, and the person could grab the stick. So Rashi has to therefore say this example, he's drowning in the river, but because he's drowning in the river, he's in a situation where he's in a weak state. When a person's in a weak state, people attack. We know that the animals of the world are created to fear people. Generally speaking, if we behave like people and not like animals. But when do animals generally attack people? When they're viewed as not being powerful. So, and the same thing could apply to these bandits, that they see someone in a vulnerable state, so they're going to attack him. So then Rashi has to explain that this is a situation that somebody might be putting themselves at risk. And even though it might be, you might think, Rashi is explaining, even though you might think that you're putting yourself at risk, perhaps you're not obligated to help him. Rashi explains, no, that you're not. The Torah tells us, do not stand by your fellow's blood, even if someone's life's at risk, and you're like, well, I don't want to risk my own life. Rashi explains that you have to also put yourself perhaps in danger, and the Talmud actually discusses this. We have the Talmud in Bava Metzia. We have a debate between the rabbis about, in a situation, let's say the classic example, people on a boat, and they only have enough drinking water for one person, and there's two people. Should one person drink the water? Should both people drink the water? And Rabbi Akiva says that one person should drink the water because the person is obligated to, your own life takes precedence. Now, so is that a situation? That's a situation where there's a for sure situation that one person's for sure gonna die, or both gonna die if they split the water. So, but the question is, at what point do I have to risk your life? And the Code of Jewish Law goes further and explains, before we even get to the Code of Jewish Law, in the Jerusalem Talmud, there's a story of Rabbi Isi. Rabbi Isi was captured by some Rabbi Isi was captured by some bandits, and Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish had a debate. Rabbi Yochanan said, let's start making burial shrouds. And Reish Lakish went and said, if I'm gonna die, then it's still worth me taking the risk. And Rabbi Reish Lakish went. They were colleagues. We'll see in a second, they were brother-in-laws, Rabbi Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. And Reish Lakish goes and he negotiates a deal with the robbers, with these bandits, these kidnappers, and he brings them to, and he says, listen, I have a connection. My brother-in-law is this great Rabbi Yochanan, and I am going to get him to give you a blessing for the fact that you had mercy on Rabbi Isi. So Rabbi Isi, they bring him to Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, whatever you wanted to do to him, it's going to happen to you. And sure enough, they died even before they reached their final destination. So the question is, what's going on here? Seemingly, why would Reish Lakish go and renegotiate and try to get them back? And why would Rabbi Yochanan not do it? So let's take a step back on the background of Rabbi Yochanan and the background of Reish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish actually, according to some opinions, that they actually knew each other as young kids. And one time, at some point, Rabbi Reish Lakish ended up being he was kidnapped, or he had no money, so I think he had to sell himself to be like some sort of gladiator. And gladiators are not exactly a profession for a nice Jewish boy. They don't study a lot of Torah over there. So Reish Lakish never had an opportunity to study Torah, and he became this very big, strong gladiator. At one time, he was bathing in the river, and he sees Rabbi Yochanan, and they remembered each other. So Reish Lakish goes, and he goes over to Rabbi Yochanan, and he sees this big, strong man, and he says, "You should use your strength for the study of Torah." And Reish Lakish replies, "You should use your beauty," because Rabbi Yochanan was known to be very, very handsome. And he says, "Your beauty should be for a woman." That was his quip back to him. So he said, "Listen, if you dedicate your life to Torah, I have a sister, and you can marry her. She's more beautiful even than I am." And sure enough, they got married. Reish Lakish leaves his former life behind and becomes a great Torah scholar, and eventually becomes the Torah study partner of Rabbi Yochanan, becomes one of the greatest rabbis in the Talmud. So Reish Lakish, it made sense. Reish Lakish had the background to help in that situation. Rabbi Yochanan did not know the world of bandits. He didn't know the world of kidnappers, but Reish Lakish came from that world. He came from the streets, as they say. And in fact, that's what happened. And therefore, since he had the ability to help him, that was his job, was to help. First, Rabbi Yochanan could not help, so there was nothing he could do. So he said, "Okay, let's start making burial shrouds." Now, and so basically, it really depends if you're. So just to recap, it depends on if you're well trained in that way. In other words, can you actually help the person, or you're just going to, suicide mission that doesn't make any sense? Can you actually help the person? And at a certain point, it becomes a self-evaluation, a self-risk. Are you the type of person who's willing to put yourself aside for someone else? And in fact, in the Code of Jewish Law, in the laws of bodily injury and harm, Rabbi Shneur Zalman Liadi, the Alter Rebbe, rules that one who sees their fellow drowning or being attacked, and they can save them or hire someone to save them, they are obligated to do so. And they could even later you could ask the person to pay you back for the fact that that you spent money to save them. Maybe that's a question for according to this, maybe the police could send you a bill if they save you. I don't know, or the ambulance. They definitely do. They do send you a bill. And now, but you still, even if they are not able to pay you after the fact, the halacha is you still have to go out and save them. And the question is, do you have to actually put yourself? There's going to be a risk of your own life. He says that some say that you should, and however, some others debate that, and you could be lenient, depending on that's a personal choice. So the bottom line is that at some point, if you're able to help another person, and you have to take that risk at some point. The question is, where is the point? Where exactly is that point? Do you have to actually put yourself at risk? Can you actually help the person? All those things go into the specific situation according to Jewish law. And in fact, we have a very interesting story about the Rebbe when he was a young boy. He was in 1911. The Lubavitch Rebbe was 9 years old. He was born in 1902, and they were on some sort of health resort in Crimea, and a young boy was drowning in the Black Sea. I believe it was the Black Sea. My geography is not so great. You look it up. And there was they heard that another young boy went and saved this other boy. And she went to the Black Sea, and she actually saw it was her son. It was the Rebbe, the young Rebbe, who would later be the Rebbe. He went in and jumped in and was able to save this child who had some sort of boat overturned, whatever it was drowning. So we see that this is, obviously that's a perfect situation of a righteous person going beyond and actually risking his life in order to help another person. Okay, so what is the question is, this isn't a class on the laws of lifeguarding and whether or not a person should risk their life, and what do they call it, the Good Samaritan laws, or if ambulances should charge. That's not what we're discussing today. The question is, what is the lesson for us? We know that when it comes to spiritual life, the same thing applies. If a person is struggling spiritually, a person might be like, listen, I don't have to help this person. This person is went down the bad path, or they never had an opportunity, whatever the case may be, and they're struggling spiritually. I'm just going to stand by and watch. I'm not getting involved. I don't want to risk my own spirituality by helping somebody else. The Torah tells us, do not stand by your fellow's blood. Don't watch your fellow struggle and being someone who is overwhelmed by materialism and physicality. He's being drowning in the world and he's not able to have a good spiritual life. That person, you have to go and save them. And it might not take that much. It might be something that just a kind word, giving that person opportunity, and the person doesn't have the educational opportunities that you had. Whatever it may be, you have to go and help that person. And in fact, the Rabbi explains here a very fascinating idea that why would a person be exposed to someone else's faults? Why would God put me in a situation? If God runs the world and every single place and situation that we end up in is determined by God, then why would I be the one who has to watch somebody struggle? Why would I be that person who has to watch somebody drown, whether it's physically or spiritually? And the Rebbe explains the reason that you were put in that situation, that you see a person struggling, is because you have the ability to save him. Otherwise, why would God put you through such a painful situation to watch somebody drown? The only reason is because you have the ability to save him. And therefore, every single one of us have to take the opportunity to teach Torah, to teach someone else how to do a mitzvah, whether it's in your work, your family, somebody sitting next to you in shul, and he doesn't know what page we're on. You have to help them. We all have not just the opportunity, but the obligation for every single one of us to help another Jew study Torah and do mitzvahs. Thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful Shabbos, and God willing, we'll see you. Not next week. Next week is Lag BaOmer. Make sure you register for Lag BaOmer. We would love to see you. So that is Thursday night next week. So we will not have a class, but we will see you at Lag BaOmer, and if not, the week after that. Have a great Shabbos.